The city hums like it always does, neon lights painting streaks across wet pavement, car horns echoing through the night. It's late, past the hour when most people are home, but Ethan Cole isn't most people. He's the kind of man who thrives in shadows of skyscrapers and boardrooms, the kind of man who has built empires while others slept. Tonight, though, even Ethan feels the weight of exhaustion. His sleek black car glides through the nearly empty streets, the rain pattering against the glass like tiny fists demanding to be noticed. Inside the car, Ethan leans back, his tie loosened, his mind wandering through numbers, contracts, and the cold glow of profits that never quite fill the silence of his penthouse. His driver, accustomed to the CEO's brooding silence, doesn't say a word. The city is almost quiet until the car slows at a bus stop. That's when Ethan sees her. A figure so small it almost disappears into the shadows. Under the weak flicker of the streetlight sits a little girl, no more than 7 or 8. Her knees are pulled to her chest, her thin arms wrapped tight around them. Her backpack, faded, fraying at the edges, rests against her like a shield. She isn't waiting for a bus. She's surviving the night. Ethan lowers the tinted window just slightly, as though any more would break the strange spell of the moment. The cold rush of rain-laced air hits his face, his eyes narrow. The girl doesn't notice the luxury car idling only feet away. She's too busy trying to stay warm. Courageous, stay warm. Her shoes are worn thin, her socks mismatched, her hair tangled like she hasn't seen a bed or a brush in weeks. The driver glances in the rearview mirror. Sir? Should I keep going? Especially not here, this hour, at a lonely corner where no cameras flash and no deals are made. But Ethan doesn't answer right away. Something about the girl stops him. Her stillness, her silence, the way her small frame seems to shrink further into the bench as if the world has already pressed too hard against her. He adjusts his cufflink out of habit, but his mind isn't on appearances anymore. It's on her. The rain grows heavier, drops splashing against the metal roof in rhythmic bursts. The girl shivers, curling tighter into herself. Ethan's jaw tightens. For years, his life has been about acquisitions, mergers, power plays that ripple across continents. But in this fleeting, fragile moment, none of it matters. What matters is the sight of a child alone under a failing streetlight, while the rest of the world rushes past without looking. He exhales slowly, almost whispering the question meant only for himself. Why is she alone? The engine hums softly, but Ethan doesn't move. His driver clears his throat, a polite reminder that the night is growing late. Yet Ethan's gaze stays fixed on the fragile figure under the flickering light. The weight of indecision presses against his chest. Then, finally, a quiet command leaves his lips. Stop. The car glides to the curb. For a man like Ethan, whose schedule is measured down to the minute, whose presence is demanded by boardrooms across the globe, stopping here, at this forgotten corner of the city, feels absurd. Yet, he does it anyway. The driver hesitates before opening an umbrella, stepping out to shield him. But Ethan waves it off. He wants no barrier between himself and what he's about to face. The rain comes down harder, soaking into his tailored suit as he walks toward the bench. Each step feels heavier than the last, as though he's approaching not just a child, but a mirror reflecting something he doesn't want to see. The girl stirs when his shadow falls over her. Her eyes snap open, wide and untrusting, catching the dim glow of the streetlight. She doesn't speak. She only grips her backpack tighter, as if it holds the last thread keeping her tied to the world. Ethan crouches down, careful not to tower over her. He lowers his voice, soft but steady. Hey, where's your mom or dad? The girl shakes her head once. No words, just that small, fragile gesture. Her lips tremble, and not only from the cold. She is scared, wary of strangers, as if experience has already taught her that trust is dangerous. Rainwater drips from Ethan's hairline down his cheek. He studies her shoes, too small and worn thin, her coat a size too big, as though it once belonged to someone else. Every detail screams of neglect of nights spent in places no child should ever know. His instincts tell him to call someone, authorities, shelters, anyone trained for situations like this. But another instinct, raw and unfamiliar, pushes harder. A voice inside whispers that if he walks away, she will disappear into the cracks, swallowed by a city that doesn't stop for anyone. He extends his hand, palm up. Come with me. The girl stares at it, unblinking, as though his hand is a trick, a trap. Her body tenses. She doesn't move. Ethan holds the pose, the rain dripping steadily from his cuff. Time stretches. His hand, usually reserved for signing deals worth billions, now hovers in the air waiting for the trust of a child who has every reason to refuse it. The silence between them grows thick. The driver shifts awkwardly by the car, clearly uncomfortable with his employer kneeling on wet pavement. But Ethan doesn't notice him anymore. His focus is entirely on the small figure before him, on the unspoken plea in her guarded eyes, on the truth that he is standing at a crossroads that no contract, no wealth, no calculation ever prepared him for sleep doesn't come easily that night. Ethan lies in his penthouse, a space that boasts panoramic views of the city, a bed worth more than most people's yearly income, and silence so complete it almost feels like another presence, yet none of it comforts him. Every time he shuts his eyes, he sees her, knees tucked to her chest, rain dripping onto her fragile frame, the way she shook her head without speaking a single word. He tries to bury himself in his usual routine. His phone buzzes with messages from board members in Tokyo, emails from lawyers in New York, projections flashing across digital dashboards. Normally, it's the rhythm that keeps him grounded. Tonight, though, the words blur. So none of it matters because the only image that stays sharp is that little girl at the bus stop. By dawn, he makes a decision. He tells himself it's curiosity, maybe guilt, maybe responsibility. But deep down, he knows it's more than that. He instructs his driver, a take me back. Same place. Name place. The driver hesitates, his brow furrowing, but doesn't ask questions. Ethan Cole doesn't get questioned. The city feels different in daylight, less threatening, more alive. Yet when the car pulls up to the same corner, Ethan's chest tightens. The bench is empty, no backpack, no small figure curled under the light. For a moment, panic surges through him, a sensation he isn't used to. Ethan Cole is a man who controls outcomes, dictates terms, and bends circumstances to his will. But here, he is powerless. He steps out anyway, scanning the sidewalks, the alleyways, every passing stranger. His eyes catch movement across the street. A tiny frame rummaging in a trash bin, pulling out scraps of food with trembling hands. It's her. Ethan calls out, his voice steady but urgent. Hey! The girl freezes, then looks over her shoulder. Recognition flashes in her eyes, followed quickly by fear. She clutches her backpack and bolts, her small legs moving faster than he expects. Without hesitation, Ethan follows. His polished shoes splash through puddles, his coat dragging heavy with rain, but he doesn't stop. The driver shouts after him, bewildered, but Ethan keeps running. The girl darts through an alley, weaving past broken bottles and trash bags, trying to escape like a cornered animal who has known only chase and capture. Ethan's heart pounds harder than it ever does in boardroom negotiations. The air burns in his lungs, but he doesn't quit. Each turn she takes, he pushes harder, closing the gap, driven by something raw, something primal. Finally, she slows, tripping slightly on uneven pavement, and Ethan seizes the moment. He doesn't grab her. He knows that would shatter the thin thread of trust. Instead, he stops just a few steps away, his voice calmer now, softer despite his racing heartbeat. "I'm not here to hurt you," he says, breathless, his eyes locked on hers. "I just want to help." The girl stands frozen, clutching her backpack like it's life itself, her eyes darting between the alley exit and the strange man who has chosen to chase her through the rain-soaked city. The alley smells of damp concrete and rotting food, the kind of place most people cross the street to avoid. Ethan doesn't move closer. He stays where he is, soaked from the rain, breath still uneven from the chase. The girl's chest rises and falls rapidly, her knuckles white as she clings to the straps of her backpack, her eyes wide, darting, search for escape. A stray cat scampers behind a dumpster, startling her, but she doesn't run again. Something about his voice, the steadiness despite his own exhaustion, makes her pause. "I'm not here to hurt you," Ethan repeats, softer now. He crouches slightly, lowering himself so he isn't towering over her. The ground seeps cold through his expensive trousers, but he doesn't care. All that matters is convincing this child that she isn't about to lose whatever fragile safety she thinks she has. The girl shifts her weight, as though debating whether to sprint again. Hookery. Slowly, with trembling fingers, she loosens her grip on the zipper of her backpack. Her eyes never leave his as she slides it open, pulling it forward protectively onto her lap. Inside isn't what Ethan expects. Not food, not clothes, not even the scraps of a runaway trying to survive. Instead, she lifts out a small, battered stuffed rabbit. Its fur is worn down to threads, one ear torn nearly off. She presses it to her chest almost defiantly, as if daring him to take it. Next, she pulls out a crumpled photograph, edges bent, colors faded. She holds it up with both hands. The image is of a young woman, her mother, Ethan assumes, smiling in a way the girl never has. There's a softness in the woman's eyes, a warmth that time and hardship haven't yet erased. Ethan recognizes that kind of love instantly, though it's something he's rarely known himself. The girl swallows hard, her lips parting just enough for broken words to escape. She's gone. Ethan blinks. The words hit harder than he expects. He watches her clutch the photograph to her chest, as if the paper could keep her from unraveling completely. She doesn't say dead. She doesn't have to. The hollow in her voice, the finality in her eyes, speaks louder than any word could. "And your father?" Ethan asks carefully, not wanting to press too hard. Her eyes darken, her chin tucks downward. She doesn't answer. Sehar. Silence stretches in the damp alley, until finally she whispers, "He left." 2 words. Enough to tell Ethan everything. She has no one. No roof, no warmth, no hand to guide her except the stuffed rabbit and the fading photo of a woman who can no longer return. Ethan feels something stir deep in his chest, something raw and uncomfortable. He has faced hostile takeovers, government scrutiny, competitors bent on destroying him, yet none of it ever made his throat tighten the way this child's whispered truth does. She hugs the rabbit tighter, as if expecting him to turn away now, to abandon her like the others. Her small body stiffens, bracing for disappointment, for rejection, for the kind of abandonment that has already defined too much of her young life. The following morning, the glass towers of downtown gleam beneath the sun. See, a sharp contrast to the damp alley that still lingers in Ethan's memory. His driver waits at the curb, uncertain, because the instructions given today are unlike any before. Instead of directing him toward the headquarters of Cole International, Ethan simply said, "We're making a stop first." So, when the car door opens, she is there. Small frame perched on the leather seat, backpack gripped tightly, rabbit's ear sticking out like a fragile banner of defiance. She doesn't speak, but she doesn't run either. Something in her eyes has shifted. A thin thread of trust forming, though it quivers with every movement. Ethan slides in beside her, adjusting his suit without thought, as though to remind himself of the world he still belongs to. The driver glances in the mirror, confusion etched across his face. "Isurawi," his voice trails off when Ethan raises a hand. No explanations, no questions. Just a silent acknowledgement that the balance of his life has shifted in a way no assistant, no advisor, no lawyer could ever anticipate. When they arrive at the towering headquarters, the revolving doors spin open as if swallowing them whole. Employees stop mid-step. Their polished shoes squeak on marble floors. Conversations cut short. Ethan Cole, the man known for storming into meetings like a force of nature, is walking across the lobby with a child clinging to his side. Gasps ripple through the room. Phones discreetly lift, cameras flashing in quick bursts. Ethan ignores them all, his stride steady. The girl's grip on his hand tightens as they step into the elevator, eyes darting at mirrored walls that reflect a reality she's still trying to believe. The boardroom waits upstairs, executives already seated around the long, polished table. Charts glow on the screen, reports stacked neatly, pens aligned with surgical precision. But when Ethan enters, silence swallows the room. At his side, the girl stands half hidden, clutching her backpack like armor. One executive clears his throat. "Mr. Cole, shall we begin with the quarterly?" No. Ethan's voice cuts sharp, leaving no room for argument. He pulls out a chair, not for himself, but for the child. The executives exchange bewildered glances, eyes wide, some whispering beneath their breath. This is not protocol. This is not the Zen Cole they know. He rests a hand on the back of her chair. "We talk about changing lives in this company. Today it starts here." The room stiffens. Lawyers shuffle papers nervously, whispering about liabilities, public image, the storm this decision will bring. But Ethan doesn't look at them. His gaze stays on the girl, who now sits quietly, rabbit in her lap, eyes scanning the room as though she's walked into another planet. The tension is palpable, every executive torn between loyalty, fear, and disbelief. But Ethan stands firm, his presence radiating the same authority that once closed billion-dollar deals, only now directed toward a cause no one in the room ever expected. He has crossed a line, one that cannot be uncrossed. And in doing so, he has bound himself to a choice that will alter every corner of his carefully constructed empire. Weeks pass, then months. The girl no longer lingers at bus stops or digs through trash bins. Instead, she walks the marble halls of a mansion once designed only for solitude, her footsteps echoing against walls that used to know nothing but silence. Ethan listens to those sounds late at night, surprised at how much comfort they bring, more valuable than the hum of city traffic or the applause of shareholders. At first, she barely speaks. A nod, a glance, a grip on her stuffed rabbit, that is her language. Ethan learns to read it, patient in a way no one would have believed of him. He brings her books, sketch pads, paints. Slowly, she begins to fill pages with colors, her silence softening into whispered words that grow into sentences. Her laughter, small, hesitant, emerges one evening when she beats him in a board game. That single sound fills the entire room, and for the first time, Ethan realizes how empty his world had been before. The transformation does not go unnoticed. Employees whisper about how their once intimidating boss now arrives at meetings with a lighter step. Investors note the shift in his tone, no longer cold steel, but something warmer, almost human. The media, ever hungry for spectacle, paints him as a paradox, the ruthless billionaire who suddenly became a guardian. Critics call it a stunt, a publicity play, but those who look closely see the truth in his eyes. This is not strategy. This is salvation. One evening, as twilight bleeds across the skyline, Ethan sits in his study, surrounded by paperwork. She enters quietly, rabbit tucked under her arm, and sets something on his desk, a drawing. Crayons on paper, shaky lines forming a picture of a house with two figures standing in front, one tall, one small. Above them, a crooked sun smiles in yellow. He stares at it longer than he should. His throat tightens, but he forces a smile, meeting her eyes. She shifts nervously, unsure of his reaction, until he whispers, "It's perfect." For her, it's just a drawing. For him, it's proof that she now believes in a future where she is not alone. Time moves forward. The boardroom continues. The markets shift. The empire grows. But behind closed doors, Ethan changes. The penthouse that once felt like a cage now feels alive, filled with soft light and laughter that no stock price could ever measure. He reads her bedtime stories, stumbles through cooking breakfast, learns the rhythm of someone else's needs before his own. Son. And then, one night, as he pulls the blanket up over her shoulders, she looks at him with eyes no longer guarded but clear, steady. In a voice barely above a whisper, she says the words that stop his heart. "Thank you for not leaving me." Ethan swallows hard, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. In that moment, he realizes the truth he had been blind to his entire life. It wasn't his hand that saved her, it was hers that saved him. The empire he built may one day fade, but this legacy, this bond born from a rainy night at a bus stop, will outlast every skyscraper his name ever touched.